Category 4 severe tropical cyclone Jasper is approaching Queensland, where a devastating landfall in the Cairns region is expected in around 5 days' time. Cairns is on notice for a potentially devastating tropical cyclone to blow through the city and the surrounding areas, with Tropical Cyclone Jasper on a weakening trend, however, is expected to make landfall as a Category 3 severe tropical cyclone just north of the city in around 4 to 5 days' time. This is your latest update brought to you by Force 13 Australia. Please subscribe if you haven't already, leave a like on the video and suggest how we can improve in the comments section down below. This is a big update, we've got a lot to get through, so stick around to the end. We're getting it off right now with the tropical cyclone forecast track. You can see Category 4 severe tropical cyclone Jasper with sustained winds of 160 kilometers an hour, gusts to 220 kilometers an hour. It's going to be heading in that southwesterly trajectory before moving more due west and maybe even a little bit of northwest as it moves towards Cairns, where a direct hit on the city is expected as a Category 3 strength severe tropical cyclone. You can see the storm will pass south of Willis Island in around 3 days' time, where strengthening is expected to kick back off again after the storm does its weakening phase over the next 24 hours, which is as a result of more hostile conditions for the tropical cyclone. Wind shear is going to be up and dry air might infiltrate the storm as well. So here is a look at Cyclone Jasper on the multi-model diagnostics. You can see the two forecast tracks from the Bureau of Meteorology as well on the left-hand side. A Category 3 landfall just north of Cairns expected. Strengthening of the system just before landfall on both the GFS and the ECMWF forecast models. You can see them bringing the storm up towards Category 2 on the Saffir-Simpson scale. That's approaching Category 4 on the Australian scale. Wind shear sky high for the system right now. Mid-level humidity looking pretty average for the storm as well, but sea surface temperatures are going to be the reason this storm intensifies just before landfall. There is a lot of fuel and potential energy for this system to become significantly powerful once again. So here's a look at our forecast track map. You can see the storm right now initialized as a Category 4 strength tropical cyclone. It's going to be moving in that southwesterly trajectory for the next 2 days before turning more due west and it re-intensifying. A Category 3 landfall is expected on Cairns at this point. It's looking more and more certain with every forecast run and every new Bureau of Meteorology track that Cairns is going to receive a direct hit from this tropical cyclone. So if you do live within Cairns or the Tablelands region, up towards Atherton or down towards Atherton, Port Douglas, I would suggest preparing for this system now, preparing for a Category 4 strength tropical cyclone to move ashore. That is the worst case scenario at this time. You can see on the satellite imagery right now, it's holding itself together in some pretty hostile conditions of the storm right now. Fantastic outflow towards the south, great inflow banding features towards the eastern side of the system, and it's still got a pretty, well, I guess it's an okay central dense overcast right now. It's not looking too flash, but then again, it is still a very powerful tropical cyclone and it's looking the part. You can see showers now starting to come ashore around the Bowen or Mackay region, and they'll be extending up north towards Townsville. Those showers will be bringing gusty winds ashore for the Queensland coastline this weekend and into early next week before the real deal makes landfall in Cairns probably about Wednesday next week. Here's a look at the GFS forecast model run. You can see that weakening over the coming couple of days down towards a pretty weak intensity actually before bouncing north, might even do a loop-the-loop actually, and then moving in towards Cairns as a powerful tropical cyclone with winds sustained of around 80 knots. That's 150 kilometers an hour, definitely a Category 3 strength tropical cyclone before, interestingly, the GFS re-strengthens it in the Gulf of Carpentaria, where it becomes what looks to be an almost significant tropical cyclone there up towards Category 3 status. And playing it through once again, freezing it on the landfall, you can see sustained winds around 70 to 80 knots. That's up towards 140, 150 kilometers an hour sustained. That's a Category 3 severe tropical cyclone making landfall right there. Now, rainfall is also a very significant threat from this system. I've played this run through multiple times on the last couple of uploads. You can see just how much rainfall we're expecting from this system as it makes its pass over Cairns, up to 500 millimeters for Cairns, and then surrounding town sites like Tully, Innisfail, Mareeba, Atherton. These places in the more mountainous terrain around Cairns could be receiving totals up towards 1,000 millimeters. In fact, the Access G3 model, Bureau of Meteorology's own model, is forecasting up to 2.5 meters of rain from this system, 2,500 millimeters. Thankfully, that is very unlikely to materialize, but it just gives a pretty good idea at how much moisture this storm is going to be bringing ashore. That's the latest on this part of the video. Let's jump over to the forecast models on windy.com. Alright, so here we are over at windy.com right now. You can see the centre of the storm here, pressure of 984 millibars, sustained winds around the centre, initialised at 50 knots. It's quite clearly a lot stronger than that, but again, that's model resolution at its finest right now. It's not doing a very good job, the ECMWF on this system. However, what we are most interested in right now is the forecast. Right now, the system is no threat to land. However, in a couple of days, this is going to be a very significant threat to land. Let's start playing this through. The end of Sunday, we're going to be seeing this system approach the Queensland coastline. Sunday night, we're going to be seeing these very strong winds start to blow ashore anywhere north of what looks to be Mackay at this stage. Winds sustained of around 30 knots out from the southeast. It's going to drive a pretty significant amount of water up through Hamilton Island and these reef sort of areas here. So we could be seeing a pretty big tide in this area because of the amount of water and the swell that this cyclone will be driving ashore. I believe wave heights will be approaching that sort of 10 feet mark here, about 3 meters. So significant wave heights around the core of the system. They're going to be higher at around 25 feet, 8.5 meters or so. As we play it through into Monday, the storm will be probably starting its re-strengthening and its final approach to landfall. You can see sort of Monday and into Tuesday, the storm's starting to wrap itself up a little bit again. You can see it's now definitely a defined cyclone. It's probably got its eye walls back, and it will probably be on the strengthening trend as it makes its final approach onto Cairns. Tuesday night, it looks like the cyclone conditions just start to come ashore on Cairns. It looks like it's going to make landfall just north of Cairns, probably around Port Douglas. Yep, Wednesday morning, we're seeing that direct hit on Port Douglas, which means that the worst conditions in the southern eye wall of this system will be driven ashore right onto Cairns, where we could be seeing Category 3 strength tropical cyclone winds there. And what's also worrying is the fact all of these towns here, Mareeba, Atherton, Ravenshoe, Tully, we could be seeing some very significant rainfall totals as a result of this cyclone be driven ashore because of this onshore flow. I believe rainfall accumulation over the next 5 days in these regions up towards 250 millimeters. A little bit further north, we're probably looking at up to 400 millimeters as a result of this cyclone. The GFS is painting a grimmer picture in terms of rainfall, I believe, or maybe not so far. We'll get to that in just a little bit. The Access G3 has also been playing a really grim picture for rainfall, but yeah, rainfall will be a significant threat as well with this cyclone. But let's take a look at another forecast model. This is the Bureau of Meteorology's own forecast model. You can see the landfall again just north of Port Douglas and Cairns. Wednesday evening, it's looking really likely now that we're going to see this landfall around Port Douglas, just north of Cairns. I think all major models are calling for it right now. It's basically set in stone that it will actually happen, basically just on this cape here. Cape Tribulation, will be seeing the landfall site here, ECMWF, GFS, and the Access G3 model all calling for that. The same with the Icon model as well. In fact, the Icon model painting an even more worrying picture. You can see a Category 3 severe tropical cyclone here about to move ashore, sustained winds of approaching 70 knots. That is a very strong tropical cyclone indeed. And the GFS model is the one that I'd be more inclined to follow right now. You can see, even though it has the weakest winds, it's got the deepest pressure, which means that this cyclone will likely be about a Category 2, maybe a Category 3 upon landfall. That's in line with the Bureau of Meteorology's forecast cone. You can see, again, significant winds being driven ashore onto Cairns right now. It'll be really in this exposed position where these cyclone winds will be just driven ashore because of the cyclone's location just north of the town site. So we'll be seeing probably Category 2, Category 3 severe tropical cyclone conditions in the Cairns region and in surrounding towns as well. So worrying signs indeed from the forecast models at this time. There is a lot to break down with this picture here. We are looking at a very dangerous cyclone threat. So if you do live, I would say basically anywhere north of Townsville, probably Ingham, and south of what looks to be, sort of Cooktown. In fact, if there's any communities through here, I believe it's just Cooktown. If you live south of Cooktown and north of Ingham, I would prepare for tropical cyclone conditions for about Tuesday night through to about Thursday morning. That's most likely when this system's going to be making passage through here. The landfall time, I reckon, will be Wednesday afternoon into evening local time, probably around 5 p.m. local time. That's kind of in conjunction with the major forecast models and the Bureau of Meteorology. Again, these systems always tend to happen at night, and the back end of this system, the eastern side of this system, is going to be the strongest. So once this storm moves through, and if you do happen to find yourself in the eye of the system, so this area here, the really calm conditions in the center of this system, don't go out until the official advice has said that the danger has all cleared, which will probably be around Thursday morning, because the eastern side of this system is substantially more powerful than the western side of this system as it moves through on landfall. So the back end of this system will be worse than the front end of this system. A significant tropical cyclone expected to make landfall. I can't reiterate enough how important it is to make your early preparations this weekend and into Monday, and be all prepared sort of Monday evening, because again, this cyclone, if it does speed up randomly or change direction randomly, it could bring the landfall time forward or backwards by around 6 hours, or it could even bring the landfall location up or down the coast by up to 50 kilometers. So make sure you are prepared for the worst. We're hoping for the best here. A Category 2, Category 3 tropical cyclone landfall is expected, so prepare for a high-end Category 3 tropical cyclone. That's probably about as strong as this system could theoretically get. It's a worrying forecast indeed. We're going to have a lot more coverage here on the Force 13 Australia channel as well, so make sure you are subscribed, leave a like on the video while you're at it, but that's about the latest that we have here. Again, make sure you've got your preparations done by around Monday. It's very important that they're done early. This is a significant tropical cyclone threat. If you've got any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments section down below. Again, I'm going to try my best to get through all of them. This is a big priority on this channel in terms of coverage, so we're going to be giving this our absolute all. Stay up to date with the Bureau of Meteorology as well. That's very important that you do there. There's no current warnings out for this system. They're going to be coming out probably in the next sort of day or two, I would imagine. Maybe Sunday night we'll start to see warnings issued north of Townsville for a tropical cyclone to make passage. Severe weather warnings will most likely be issued basically anywhere north of Mackay, considering a location that gets under the right rain band could pick up to 100 millimeters, and that's possible between Mackay inland even to Lake Hugh Headed and up to Mount Isa as well, and through to the Gulf of Carpentaria coastline. Basically, far northern Queensland is expecting a belting from this system, that's for sure, and the strongest cyclone since Cyclone Debbie to make landfall on Queensland, and the strongest cyclone for Cairns since Cyclone Yazzie of 2011. So a loaded gun forecast, that's for sure, but that's the latest from us, and I'll catch you on the next storm. Goodbye.